Hello and welcome to the MAC weather page for this Tuesday, August 11th. And you can see temperatures this morning in the mid 60s across the area. Dew points are still up in the low 60s, so it's still a pretty muggy morning out there. But with high pressure moving in, we should see humidity and dew points go down later this afternoon. But if we take a look at some of the precipitation amounts, you can see a lot of quarter to half inch type amounts across much of southern lower Michigan. However, there were some exceptions around that Lansing area. They just got lambasted by a very slow-moving storm that brought just tropical type rains to the area over a 2-hour period, picking up 3.15 inches of rain. And you can see the results of that. Lots of flooding yesterday going on during this thunderstorm that produced all the rain. You look at the satellite picture, you can see now that cold front's well off to the east. It's taken the bulk of the moisture with it, but with some wrap around that big upper low across Hudson Bay. I think as we get heating during the afternoon hours today, we'll see those clouds develop and maybe a few pop-up showers, but again, they should be widely scattered, and I don't expect much in the way of precipitation for any one given area. If we look at the forecast map for later today, you can see high pressure settling into the Midwest. That'll very slowly move off to the east over the next 48 hours, and as it does, we'll start to get a return flow with warmer air moving in by Thursday, and that's when we could see a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms move into the area as a cold front's expected to drop south out of Canada. And we can take a look at that on the weather map here for Thursday if we skip ahead a couple of days. And you can see as that front moves south, just a slight chance again, probably as early as Wednesday night, but mainly for Thursday. Again, those will be low opportunities, mainly 20 to 30% coverage areas. But as that cold front gets closer Friday and Friday night, we can see 40-50% chance of showers and thunderstorms. That's when our best chance of precipitation will fall. And can't rule out a shower maybe on Saturday morning. But again, it looks like right now the weekend looks like a great summer weekend with highs in the 80s with plenty of sunshine along with some fair weather clouds as well. Again, can't totally rule out a shower, but for the most part, I expect the weekend to be dry and quite warm. And if we take a look at the 7-day precipitation outlook from the WPC, you can see very warm and dry air continues to expand from Texas and Oklahoma, and that warm air dome will continue to try to push northward, and I think we'll see a lot of 80-degree temperatures here over the next 7 days, maybe even pushing the upper 80s on Sunday for a very warm day. Then I think a cold front's going to move through as we get into early next week, and that could bring a pretty decent chance of showers and thunderstorms as we get later on the day on Monday, and that's something we'll have to keep an eye out. It could be an active day, but again, that's quite a ways off, and we'll just continue to watch later model runs. If we look at the 6 to 10 and 8 to 14 day outlooks, you can see in the 6 to 10 day ridging across the eastern part of the United States. Yesterday I talked about kind of a blocking pattern, and you can see with the trough digging into the rocky areas. That's going to keep the warmest temperatures across the eastern third of the United States. And with that ring of fire, you can see the precipitation amounts will be best across the southwest, into the upper Midwest, into the Great Lakes, and then, of course, along the Gulf Coast. If we look at the 8 to 14 day outlook, you can see once again warmest temperatures across the eastern U.S. It's going to get knocked down by a little bit, and you can see precipitation as these fronts continue to move in out of the northwest. It's going to try to create try to knock that ridging down, and I think the most active areas again will be across the Great Lakes back into the southwest and of course along the Gulf Coast as well. If we look at the next forecast map, let's move this back up. This is from weatherbell.com, a great site, and this is their winter outlook they issued. It speaks for itself, so I don't want to put words into their mouth, but I think the key is with a strong El Nino, normally we'd expect a lot of warm air to flood much of the lower 48, but the driving pattern that we've seen that's been quite dominant over the last couple of years is the warm to very warm compared to normal waters off the in the Gulf of Alaska all the way down through the west coast towards Baja California. That has a tendency to promote a persistent ridging across western Canada, the western U.S. Well, with that ridge anchored across that area, we have warm air that floods the Gulf of Alaska into Alaska. They turn warm. That dislodges the cold air, creating a trough across the center part of the U.S., eastern part of the U.S., bringing us colder than normal temperatures, and that's been a pretty dominant pattern. So I think with that setup, again, you can see these temperatures, they're not forecasting to be radically colder. 2 years ago, we had lots of talk about the polar vortex, and we did have a very cold winter, quite a few days below zero. Last year was a very cold year, but not quite to the extent And I think with a stronger El Nino than last year, I think these temperatures reflect that idea of a warmer winter than the last couple of years. But what we also expect is a very active, even hyperactive southern jet that's going to be very active with lots of moisture, going to create a lot of moisture from California all along the Gulf Coast. And I think as far as snowfall, you can see their outlook calls for areas around the eastern Tennessee and Ohio valleys up into western New York as being in a prime spot as these low pressure systems will move across the Gulf states and interact with this trough that'll occasionally be there. And that's going to allow for some, I think, pretty powerful snowstorms as the lows move up the coast, taking the heaviest snows along the spine into the west of the Appalachians. And again, it looks like a pretty overall snowy pattern for much of the United States, with these areas across the southern plains in the Ohio and Tennessee valleys up into New England being the prime areas to pick up the most snow, and the eastern Great Lakes as well. So it could be a pretty active winter. Thanks for stopping by and have a great day, and 73s to all.